Wow, that's a tough act to follow. I'm going to come back over here by this beautiful piece of artwork. It is such an honor to be a part of the program today. It's clear that there is so much work still to be done. And I think there are many, many ways in which we can undertake this work together, but I am thrilled to be a part of this group that is working to build a platform that all of our issues can come together around. My name is Kate Adelson. I'm the director of the Virginia chapter of the Sierra Club. The Sierra Club is a very long-standing environmental organization, as some of you may know. We are based right here in Richmond, Virginia, and have been trying to work across lines of difference for some time to get at the heart and the root of many of these common challenges that we face that lie beneath the surface issues that we often tackle on a day-to-day basis. My personal background is in cultural anthropology and in grassroots community organizing on both economic and environmental issues at the nexus of human rights, civil rights, worker rights, and public health, among other things. I've spent the last 9 years with the Sierra Club here in Virginia working on our issues, but also working to address cultural competency, collaboration across diversity, and policy change through empowerment. And I'm really humbled by what I heard from the panel and from the discussion earlier, and I hope that there will be more conversation amongst everyone, because I know there are a lot of great ideas here today. I think it's really important to share that we're committed to organizing at the Sierra Club in a way that honors the Jemez principles. I'm not sure if that's something that everyone is familiar with, but I do think that it's important to recognize the history. There has been a lot of work done in this arena in the past that we can learn from, and the Jemez principles were developed by a diverse group of organizations that were trying to come together to work on addressing issues related to capitalism and our international trade policies. And there's just a lot of value in those, and so we are committed to working using those principles to engage in communities, to respect local norms, and ensure that we are allowing people to speak for themselves and have input from community leaders that really celebrate the differences of diversity rather than minimalizing them. The work that we do at the Virginia chapter is supported by the National Sierra Club's Beyond Coal campaign, Beyond Dirty Fuels campaign, Ready for 100, Green Transportation, and Healthy Communities. And some of you may know our founder, John Muir. He said many, many, many years ago, when we try to pick out one thing, anything by itself, we find it hitched to everything else in the universe. And I think that these words certainly speak to the purpose of this tour, that the root causes of injustice and oppression are interconnected, and therefore, so must be the solutions. One of the systems that props up injustice in our country is our energy system. It's a system that thrives off of and perpetuates racial and economic inequality. And the same special interests that are polluting our communities are polluting our democracy, as was mentioned before. There is a lot of work being done right now to confront the dirty power and dirty politics of Dominion, as you heard before, the company behind the Atlantic Coast Pipeline. There's also a lot of fantastic work going on with the Environmental Justice Advisory Council that's been created by the government of the state of Virginia. And I think, because I have limited time, I just want to note that this is a space that has already seen a lot of great progress in having diverse groups that tackle very different issue areas coming together. And so I hope to continue to see that. Because really, we all know that a strong, sustainable economy depends on social stability and environmental health. So I'd just like to wrap up by sharing a little bit about the campaign, 100% Virginia campaign, which there's more information on a table outside about. This is just one of many initiatives that we hope to use to bring these various areas of justice work together. And this work, excuse me, I thought I might have more time. This work is really about ensuring that we achieve a vision of a more just and equitable society that's powered by 100% renewable energy. 100% Virginia is locally led and distributed campaign, which means that anyone, anywhere can decide to launch and lead one, and we have a team that will work to support and amplify local solutions. We're looking for local partners to engage in those, and it really is important that we help people to understand that the vision that we all have for a just world, for one that is healthy and our communities and families can be healthy, is one that is feasible. We can do it. We absolutely have the power, and I appreciate everyone who's spoken today about the power, people power that we have when we come together. To date, as some of you may know, over 75 cities and towns across the United States have already made a commitment to shift to 100% clean energy, and we're hoping that more of our cities and towns here in the state of Virginia will do the same. We'd be excited to partner with anyone who's interested in working on this initiative and are very, very interested in hearing the other ideas of campaigns and initiatives that we have to build off of the Justice First platform. Thank you all for being here today.
Panelists, and thank every one of you for coming out. And this is not an event. Okay, this is not a mobilization. That is one of the things that we do far too often. We should bring people together. We should mobilize so that people can go back and organize. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so as we continue the tour, we want you to continue the conversation. We want you to continue to discuss how you can work together under the big tent of Justice First. And so I want to lift up a very special person who has already made a commitment to continue this conversation, this discussion, and the work. And I want her to just stand up for a moment, the amazing Dr. Faith Harris, who has made a commitment to continue conversation around the Justice First tour, as the folks are doing in Raleigh, as they're doing in Charlotte. We just had Reverend Rodney Sadler last week convened another group to get together to discuss how we can continue to do this work. And so I've been tasked with the call to action. How do we leave this place and we take action? First of all, people in my faith tradition, we're going to ask you to do what we call a prophetic call of hope. We don't want to just go out and tell people about all the problems, all the disasters, all the dismay. Because we have people who face daunting challenges every day. We have folks who work for Walmart, Olive Garden, Barnes and Nobles, who literally don't know how many hours they're going to work a week until the schedule comes out. I have congregants who 1 week they work 32 hours, never more, so you can't get benefits. Another week you work 15 hours, another week you work 5 hours, and I've seen occasions where people are not scheduled to work at all for a week. And so people don't need to hear the doom and gloom. They need to hear a prophetic call of hope. Because that's when people really rally. When someone like Reverend Adam Clayton Powell says, keep the faith, baby. When Martin Luther King Jr. says, we shall overcome. When Reverend Jesse Jackson says, I am somebody. When Barack Obama says, yes, we can. And so we have to make sure that our call is one of hope, one of encouragement. And we want to encourage you to not only continue the dialogue, the discussion, but to march together, to walk together, to petition together, to support one another in all of the work that's being done in Richmond, and to expand this group of people so that we bring others in. We also want to ask you to support 3 regional documents or pieces that we're advocating throughout the South. One has already been discussed, Sierra Club's Ready for 100 campaign. We want to encourage all of our municipalities to move away from fossil fuels and to move towards clean, renewable energy. We want to be able to create jobs for people. And we're not talking about bringing back the kind of jobs that give people black lung disease and remove our mountaintops. We want to encourage you to support Dogwood Alliance's forest resolution, because if the scientists are right, then the hurricanes are going to become more frequent. Sea level rise will intensify. The flooding will become worse. And if we let profiteers come and diminish our forests, which are our natural protection, then even more people are going to suffer and die. We want people to support what we in South Carolina are pushing to be put on our ballot as a referendum, an environmental rights bill, environmental bill of rights. Because we all have the right to what? Clean land, clean air, and clean water. So those are our regional asks, and we ask that you support those things. And also in September, when the People's Climate March takes place in California, and we have people from all across the globe come together to talk about the impacts of climate change, we want to encourage you to do side events. We want to encourage you to have side marches, etc. And then the most important thing of all, voter engagement. We want to take people to the polls in November, and not just to vote for anyone, but we have to make our politicians accountable. Ask them whether or not they support your Justice First issue. Ask them what they have done to support your Justice First issue. And if they can't answer, and if they are doing nothing, then I say turn them out so that we can reclaim the People's House and the State House and the State Senate and all of these places where we're supposed to be represented. And then last but not least, we will have a convening in November or December with representatives from across all 10 states in the South that will be visiting. And we're going to bring folks together, either electronically or face-to-face, so we can talk about how we will leverage what we have birthed, how we can move forward in 2019, 2020, and beyond. And so we have a simple request, that we all lift up the same words, that we all lift up the same concept, that we all say day to day after we leave this place what we are about to say now. Justice first. Justice first. Say it like you mean it. Justice first. Justice first. Say it so they can hear you out there. Justice first. Justice first. Say it so even Trump has to hear it. Justice first. Justice first. Justice first. Justice first. Victory is ours. God bless you. Heaven keep you. And we shall win. This is what democracy looks like. Thank you.
Everybody, so glad you could be here. I'm Andrea Miller. I'm Executive Director of People Demanding Action. We're the group that we generally kind of make it a point that nobody has ever heard of us, because we are the people's lobbyists on Capitol Hill. We are there every week, and we also are beginning to lobby in the State House. We are a justice organization, and basically what we do for the people who who address the issue. We fight neoliberalism, which in so many instances takes something that's a really bad idea and pretends that it's a good idea, and then they sell it to us. One of the things my mother told me when I was a little girl is, whenever somebody tells you something, before you decide you're going to swallow it and do it, consider the source. Many of the sources of neoliberal ideas literally came right out of the Heritage Foundation. They've been marketed, they've been packaged, and now they're being regurgitated as progressive ideals. So one of the things that we fight for when we're fighting on climate is we are an EJ organization. So we oppose very strongly things like carbon pricing, cap and any of those things, because it's basically made of poison. We support keep it in the ground. Leave it there, all right? No, there is no reason why the richest corporations on earth, we're going to charge them a fine. And these are also the most powerful corporations on earth, so they're going to just pass that fine right back to us and make us pay it. In what world is this justice? It isn't. All right, so anyway, I'm going to be talking about the upcoming events. So there are a number of things that we are going to want to do to be active. Today, there's going to be a Richmond Speak Out for Prison Justice. It'll be 3:30 at the Second Baptist Church on the West End. Oh, all right, it ends at 3:30. Okay, so we're going to need to run. We're going to go over there. The Poor People's Campaign is beginning in Virginia. So I'm going to invite everybody that's here to join us. On Sunday from 5:30 to 8:30 at 7th Street Christian Church, we view the live stream from Reverend Barber and Reverend Liz. So on the 14th, they began their 40 days of action. So this week, I want to get this right. The National Call for Moral Revival is about systemic racism and voter suppression, how it's connected to political majorities, poverty, immigration injustice, school resegregation, mistreatment of indigenous communities, xenophobia, and Islamophobia. I do have brochures, so I would like to invite anybody or flyers that would like to go to DC and participate in the actual events in DC. And then we also have a schedule on the flyer of when the events are going to be. If you have any questions at all on the Poor People's Campaign, you can just send an email to Virginia, spell it out, at poorpeoplescampaign.org. And we also need to look at Reverend Woodbury already mentioned the September People's Climate March. One of the other things that People Demanding Action does is we do a lot with voting. So if there are any people who would like to be trained in registering voters, I am one of the few people outside the State Board of Elections that does voter registration training. We can do it by webinar so that people don't need to travel. There are 179,000 unregistered people in Virginia. There are 44,000 people in Virginia who, if they do not vote in the 2018 election, will be removed from the rolls. We know the numbers, we have the names, we have the phone numbers. So I also built phone banks where we can contact the unregistered voters and invite them to register. We are launching a texting service so that we can reach younger people who text and invite them to register to vote via text message, at which point they will be reminded of when the elections are. Voter registration closes on October 15th, so we do have a while. And the last event, on May 29th, there will be a pipeline event in Union Hill. Union Hill is where they're building the compressor station It's a historically African-American town built by former slave. So of course Dominion wants to put a representation there. All right, and is Frank James here? Oh, there he is.
I just first want to start off by saying how grateful I am to be at this Justice event. I can't describe how much I've learned since I've been here. So special shout out to Kendall, working the sound and the back for inviting me. And I have nothing else to say, but definitely putting justice first. And I know that we talked about a lot of things, but I definitely believe that change is going to come, and I believe that wholeheartedly. Just like that river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Yes, it will.